What's up and welcome back. I don't have a theme song, but I wish I did. I'm John Stark from ActionMovieGuy.com. I'm a blind film critic, and I'm going to predict the Oscars. I've been going category by category. I did one round, so it's been a hot minute since I've come back around to the picture category. But obviously, as we get closer to Oscar season, we're going to get this with more frequency. I haven't seen all of the contenders. I don't. I as because I don't drive to a lot of the screenings. It's transportation kind of prevents me from, and I don't know, studios just don't want to give me screeners. It was just mailed to my house. I've seen some things. I get some things, so it's a hit and miss. But so let's build the top 10. I actually have some screenings pending for some things that are still coming out. It's interesting to see like what is still trying to get in the race and what's not. Digital screeners have gone out for a bunch of movies, so you see which ones are being campaigned by studios, which ones are being pushed harder than maybe some other films that the studios released this year. So, that being said, this is not a debate about like which film do I think is going to win. This is more about like which film do I think is most locked in for nomination. So at number one, I have One Battle After Another, because in my original prediction, I actually didn't have this in my top 10 because my prediction, the last go around was just before the movie had opened and there weren't really many reviews for it. It was a little bit before that. Remember, this film didn't go to a festival. So it's just sort of like predicting a P.T. Anderson movie that cost $180 million. And I know we talk a lot in these prediction spaces about budget and how that doesn't matter. To some extent, it does, because you don't want people to call you a flop like all season long. Biggest flop of the year. Box office bomb. Wins Best Picture. No, that doesn't happen. So that's my pushback to the people who are like, box office doesn't matter. It does when you have like an extraordinary high box office, like a budget, and then you don't. But it's while it hasn't made back its budget domestically, I would argue that it never was going to. Um, I think it's a little bit audacious to think that original P.T. Anderson movie with this subject matter was ever going to make like I would need to make over 200 or 300 million or whatever when you get to P&A just domestically. So, I mean, it really needs foreign and it needs to leg out. It's going to be something that maybe breaks even after everything, after you count in like the benefits of streaming. If it wins Best Picture, it's the kind of film that could like drag itself into the break even, but it certainly isn't going to be a film where Warner Brothers goes, "Oh, we made a ton of money off of One Battle After Another this year." So it is divisive, but I don't think it's too divisive among voters. I think the problem with One Battle and what I've been seeing among people who predict it is that they're living in a One Battle bubble where they've just seen it and it's the thing, like it's their thing, and because of the messaging, it's like we think that's what they're going to go for, and I don't know that that's the case because that's a long time to have to ride on all of that goodwill. So far, the only awards ceremony that we've seen pop up was Gotham, which used to have a budget limitation, and One Battle did manage to get in there. It also got nominations for Benicio del Toro, Tiana Taylor, and Chase Infinity and Breakthrough Performer, as well as Paul Thomas Anderson for director and got an adapted screenplay nomination. So it ended up setting the record because they keep adding categories for the most nominations for a film yet at the Gotham Awards. But it did leave out DiCaprio and Sean Penn. So for people who think this is a juggernaut that is unstoppable, I think there are a couple of other films this year that I've heard really great things about. And I don't know that One Battle After Another is absolutely unstoppable, but is absolutely a force going into Oscar season, which is why it's my number one. So coming at number two is the emotional tearjerker juggernaut of the year, Hamnet, which I think is poised to perhaps be the biggest contender for One Battle's position for number one, depending on how emotionally affected it is. We've seen critics react to it, and I've seen grown men cry. Like, I've seen critics and YouTubers that I follow who I didn't expect to see crying, and they're like going into their YouTube videos, and they're like, "Oh my god, guys, I just saw Hamnet, and this is my out of theater reaction, and I'm not okay." Like, so, um, I think it's going to pack a punch, and if it has the kind of lasting punch where people feel so moved by it, sure, it could lift over One Battle because it could feel like the apolitical choice. Like, One Battle clearly has something to say. Hamnet has something different to say, but it's more about exploring grief, loss, those kind of things. It's definitely got our actress winner. I don't think if I had to, if you were asking me right now, like, put money on a winner, I'm putting it on Jessie Buckley for Best Actress. Um, Her versus the conversation I've heard about everybody else is just wildly different. There isn't anybody else this year who's just been like, who people are like, oh my God. Oh my God. So there have been a lot of people who are like, yeah, it was a really good performance. I think that's one of her better performances. But the people who see Jessie Buckley and Hamnet feel like it's like transcendent. It just, she has a completely different level, and there doesn't really seem to be anybody who can touch her. Now, granted, we've only had a couple reactions for Cynthia Erivo from Wicked for Good, and if they've been basically the same as the first one, as being like, she's amazing. She is amazing. So maybe Cynthia, but I think it's Jessie Buckley. So with that, I don't think they would give Chloe a second director win. So I think the director win is going to go to somebody else no matter what. But Hamnet could be pitcher. We could have a pitcher director split here. And that wouldn't surprise me. Like, if Hamnet won pitcher and P.T. Anderson won director, that would not surprise me. He's chasing 11 Oscar nominations. So, and he is a fairly well-respected auteur with a solid body of work behind him. The argument, I don't pretend like I live in a bubble, but the argument coming out of the FYC trio, specifically, it was Snyder Jeff Snyder said something about how One Battle wouldn't win. Peter Anderson isn't going to win for One Battle because it's not his best work. Come on. Like, when does anybody ever win for their best work? It's so rare. Most of the time you end up winning as a makeup nomination. It's nice when you do win for your best performance, but a lot of them are always just, they feel like, yeah, it's their time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you hear that phrase all the time. It's their time. And that's just what it is. So like, I don't think DiCaprio's best actual performance in The Revenant, I think it's his most, and that's why he got it, is because if you didn't give him an Oscar, the next film he probably would have killed himself in the process. But I think he's done better work in films before that. So Hamnet, number two, it's coming out of focus. They do have another film this year, Big Going In. We'll talk about that a little bit down the line. Coming up at number three for me on the list, Wicked for Good. I do think this is a lock for a Best Picture nomination, and I think it could win. I don't know that it has the strongest narrative to win, but Lord of the Rings Return of the King won, so I'm not counting it out. It did its first two ones nominated but didn't win. So it's possible that they were waiting for the final one. We don't actually know that that's not true about Dune. So maybe we could also be seeing Dune 3 end up winning Best Picture one day. So Avatar 5, I don't know. We don't know that these aren't true with some of the other franchises that have been lauded, that once they actually reach their conclusion, that they won't be rewarded for it. So it's possible that Wicked for Good was the film everybody was waiting for, and they felt like it would be weird to give it to part one when it's like half of a movie, and that they wanted to see the conclusion of it. So the early word coming out of AFI was good. I didn't think it wasn't going to be. I need to hear more because they did write new material for the second one, mostly to boost Ariana Grande. So a lot of people who have been predicting her to win, I'm not there yet because I understand that a lot of her stuff is new. They wrote new songs for her. And because her content in Act Two of Wicked is not as strong as it is in the stage show, so they needed to kind of give that a little bit of a boost. And new songs in musical movies haven't really hit since, I would argue, Dreamgirls. I don't think any of the new songs that we've written for a movie musical since Dreamgirls have actually stuck with music theater lovers at all. So we'll see if Wicked is able to do it, is able to write a new song for a pre-established musical that actually people are still talking about afterward. So Wicked, and it's going to pick up a ton of tech nominations. I mean, yeah, Wicked is looking at probably at least 10 nominations, I would think, with all of the downstream tech categories. But so are a couple other films that are on this list. So that's why I'm like, we have potential to absorb a lot of nominations, but there are a couple films that could absorb them. So we also have, in number 4, we have Sinners, which I am predicting. This is one where I don't think it's going to win, but I do think is this close to being a lock for nomination. It's next on my list. That gives Warner Brothers 2 films. It's original. Yes, it's a horror movie. I think people have moved past it. Warner has quite a solid campaign behind it already. They're already starting to do re-airings of it. There was an IMAX re-release for Halloween. And it's Ryan Coogler, who has previously gotten stuff into the Oscars, so it's been in his space, has a solid cast. We may see a nomination for Michael B. Jordan. I'm not totally sold on it. We may see a supporting nomination coming out of this film. Not totally sold on that. I could see Sinners get a picture nomination and then no acting nominations, depending on how the season works out, which would be sad because I think Michael B. Jordan deserved a nomination a long time ago for the first Creed movie. But it's a competitive category that he's in this year, and I just don't see him being as a lock-in actor. But Sinners is looking like, how do you not get this film in score? You know, is there an original song in the movie Sinners that is going to battle K-pop Demon Hunters for best original song and whatever is coming out of Wicked? So I think those are top contenders. You know, it could get visual effects, it could get sound, a screenplay. It's got plenty of nominations coming its way potentially. Cinematography, costume design would be hilarious because they just reutilized costumes from another film that wasn't going forward. They just repurposed the costumes. So Sinners. Number 5 is Marty Supreme. A24 is campaigning, and this is a Christmas Day release, so this is one that has sort of the couple of those like year-end releases like this and Testament of Ann Lee are going to swing towards the end of the year. And I think Marty Supreme, which already debuted at New York Film Festival to rapturous reviews and praise, I think it's set. It doesn't have quite as big of a package as some of the other films because I don't think it's going to get in everywhere. Like, I'm not sure Josh Safdie gets in. Chalamet will get in, possibly Alyssa Zion as supporting actress, maybe a screenplay, maybe it's something like a production design. You know, I mean, it could get like 5 or 6 nominations. I don't think it's a juggernaut. But, yeah. It could also have the Best Actor winner this year. So, who knows? But I think Marty Supreme is A24's strongest contender at this point by far. And we'll see. So, then 6 and 7. Okay, so 6 and 7 for me are basically... If I don't cough, I'm going to die. Neon. I'm giving Neon 2 spots. They're definitely getting the international feature nominees. I don't know who else is trying to get in this race. I got a screener for a film from Amazon that I'm trying to figure out if the film has audio description because Amazon usually does audio description. I know they've got a contending film from, I think it's Argentina, or it's a South American country. I've already forgotten. But Neon has 5 international feature campaigns. They're trying to get the entire category. They have It Was Just an Accident, Sentimental Value, No Other Choice, Secret Agent, and Surratt, which just got a little bit more buzz thrown its way with some Gotham nominations. So, all 5 of those films got at least one Gotham nomination, like somewhere. So they're all in the conversation. And I don't know about Surratt. I feel like as the 5th place, you know you're in 5th, like with that combination, because I think Secret Agent is going to get Wagner Moura, who I think could also win Best Actor. Um, I think in No Other Choice, I think Park Chan Wook. That's a hard person to continue to say no to in terms of an Oscar. He's never been nominated, and he's the dude who did Old Boy, which is one of the more influential films of the 21st century. There are directors who are directing now who have been nominated for Academy Awards who have been influenced by Old Boy. So the fact that they're now in the voting body and they have the opportunity to pay it forward to a director who absolutely deserves to be nominated somewhere in either director or screenplay, I don't see how Park doesn't walk away with a nomination for No Other Choice. Like, this just doesn't make any sense to me. My brain cannot compute, does not compute that. How we have a strong Park Chan Wook movie this year and he gets neither a director or an adapted screenplay nomination. Bullshit. So, but the top 2 spots, the ones I'm giving to picture right now, are It Was Just an Accident and Sentimental Value. I think It Was Just an Accident is a strong contender through the director pipeline, international feature. I don't know how many other categories it picks up, but I think it is going to get a director nomination. Whereas Sentimental Value is maybe a director nomination, but definitely a supporting actor nomination for Stellan Skarsgård, at least one supporting actress. So the fact that it's going to get into multiple acting categories, I think also Bernardo Ransford. So if you've got like 3 acting nominations from an international feature, that's pretty good. So, and it could still get like screenplay, international feature. So yeah, I think some of the values in there too. But Neon is going to have to figure out which one is positioned, and if you're trying to contend for Best Picture, once all the cards have settled and everyone is nominated and where everybody lays, and we've gone through as many awards as we can, we'll see who's really in top position for Neon, because they're running 5 campaigns, and something's going to give, possibly my voice by the end of this video. Frankenstein is number 8 for me. Because I know this is weird because you're like, well, that one wasn't really. Yes, because every Best Picture nominee we've had has always been universally praised and lauded by every single critic across this country. I think Frankenstein is going to have audiences. It already kind of has audiences. I still see people who are saying it's a great movie and it's one of the best of the year. So its narrative is not like, oh, I wasn't good enough. Nightmare Alley got in. Frankenstein's going to get in. I think people like Del Toro. I think he is somebody who is beloved by the industry, and I think you're going to see that in tech nominations. I think it would be a surprise to get Jacob Elordi in. I think Guillermo del Toro is not too far away from a director nomination. He's just in a very competitive year. If he got in somewhere for director, it wouldn't surprise me. I don't think he's going to get the Oscar nomination, but he is one of the most beloved directors of all time. It's like putting Spielberg, Scorsese, Fincher, some of those people in the list. They're just automatically in the running. If their film is in the running, they're in the running. Like, don't play. Like, they're definitely, if their film is high enough on the thing, they're casually in the running no matter what. So, I think Netflix is trying to figure out what their number 1 film is. I don't think they know it's Frankenstein, but Frankenstein is just going to happen into this nomination anyway because of the power of the fact that it really has the most potential for the widest amount of nominations, like makeup, you know, it could have production design, costume design, stuff like that. I mean, it can even get adapted screenplay. And Jacob Elordi could sneak into supporting actor. So yeah, it has sort of the potential to be like nominated for 8 Academy Awards. And I think if Netflix continues to push for it, they'll get it there. So what are 9 and 10 for me? I could take some risks. I could be bold. So, first of all, I want to look at the studios because I have Warner's in here with 2 nominations. They have some other films that they're running this year, to be fair. Weapons, no. Superman, no. There, I've covered the other Warner Brothers movies. Uh, I think 2 nominations is going to be their cap. Disney with Avatar coming in. I don't want to bet against James Cameron, but I also don't want to I don't want to say that all 5 of his Avatar films are going to get Best Picture nominations. So Avatar for me would be like 11th or 12th. It would be just below where it's like I need people to see it still. I need people to think Fire and Ash can't just be the third Avatar movie and be like slightly below Way of Water. It has to he actually has to continue to grow the franchise. I think if it's just like another sequel, if it's just the third Avatar film, I don't know that it gets in just because it looks pretty. In a year where we have films that look pretty, where we have Frankenstein and Sinners, we have Wicked, we have other big budget movies already contending for Best Picture. We don't need a James Cameron shiny thing to look at. The category isn't void of big budget at this point. So I don't know that it needs to be here if it's not the best Avatar movie so far. So I'm gonna leave Avatar out, and that's I think Disney's biggest contender for picture. We also have Fox, which put out Springsteen, which is not happening anymore. Jeremy Allen White would be lucky to get into Best Actor at this point. Um, that film is just the more that people see it, the less I become uh, the less I feel good about nominating that. I just don't. I think he'll get somewhere. He'll get nominated somewhere. Some critic group or somewhere will pick him up. So Fox Searchlight, they've got Rental Family, which I just think it's not a picture contender. I don't see I don't see Is This Thing On being a picture contender. I know a lot of people who really love that movie though. Like I've heard a couple of like really high praises. I think that may be a sleeper, and it's the kind of film that could pull in an audience. So I'm not totally. I'm paying a lot of attention to Is This Thing On as being like a late stage surge, in the way that nobody was really paying attention to Hidden Figures until Hidden Figures refused to not be paid attention to. Um, it could land. They also picked up The Testament of Anne Lee, which I've heard is a divisive film for Best Picture. I think it's more likely that it's going to contend in other categories. So I don't think Searchlight actually has a picture nomination this year. Sony Pictures Classics has a couple films this year, but I don't see them getting picture nominations for them. I think they're acting plays. So I mentioned already that Focus has Begonia, right? I don't think Begonia is sort of with Avatar and Is This Thing On for me, and like the other Neon movies, right? Because I don't think it's completely out of contention. I just don't think it's a strong contender to nominate. Its box office is not great, but I don't think people care. The question is, will it have enough love? And because there's not like an immediate need to get Emma Stone another Oscar nomination, it's like, where else does it get nominated? I don't know that Yorgos gets into director. I don't know that it gets actor. I don't know that it gets actress. Um, could the film get in? Could this be like the nomination, like the 10th nomination, where it gets like picture and screenplay? Sure, we just don't immediately think of that with the Yorgos film as being the 10th the women talking of the year, or you know uh the Nickel Boys. So but it could be. So I'm not writing that off. Amazon with I think they're out of the game with After the Hunt and Hedda. I don't think those films are getting nominated. A24, If I Had Legs I'd Kick You, Smashing Machine, literally any of their other films from this year, Materialists, I don't know, Warfare. I just don't see any of those films performing into Best Picture category. So then I have to go back to Netflix and go, okay, so Netflix gets the second spot. Where does it go to? Because they have a couple nominees. I've seen House of Dynamite. It won't be House of Dynamite. I've seen Ballad of a Small Player. It's not going to be Ballad of a Small Player. It's just not those films. So I already have Frankenstein. Next after that is Train Dreams. Now I think this is the film that everybody's sleeping on because it's either Train Dreams or Jay Kelly. But I think Train Dreams at the end of the day is the more interesting play. And if I had to slide in another Netflix movie, Wake Up Dead Man, I guess, is an outside chance, but we keep doing that with the Glass Onion movies, with the Knives Out Glass Onion, and it never happens. So I'm hesitant to do that here, but I would like to slide Train Dreams in as being the ninth place spot. So what goes to the 10th place spot? I haven't talked about Song Song Blue, which kind of just debuted at AFI also, so we're just starting to hear more about that. We have is Neon campaigning anything that's not international this year? Could we get a third international feature in? Yeah, I think we could. I think this is the kind of year where we could absolutely get a third international feature in. It's so hard for the other studios though, like to get an international feature nominee. Um, and where does it come from? Netflix does have Nouveau Vogue, which seems like a stretch for Best Picture. And I'm sure all the studios have a play for this spot, but I just don't know where they come from. Um, I wish that people felt stronger about Nuremberg, because I've seen that and I think it deserves to contend for Best Picture. But I have a feeling that Sony Pictures Classics release is going to come and go, and unless people can get really behind the Russell Crowe, not the Russell Crowe performance, Nuremberg will fade. Although it could be a two nominee film, it could get into two categories. So um, it does become a little bit difficult to try to figure out where the spot goes to and who deserves it the most for this one. So if I have to absolutely take a big swing here, Apple doesn't have a movie. I know I've heard people trying to say The Lost Bus. Again, that's another FYC. I know he loved that movie. I know we're trying to say F1 is going to research because Apple is campaigning F1. I just don't see F1 getting in. Paramount, I don't see, I mean, Roofman, you know, I don't know that we have a strong Paramount contender to stand out above the rest. I don't know. I can't. God, I look at these international contenders that Neon has and I go, could they get a third spot? Could we get three international nominees in a year where we've had a debate about tariffs on international cinema and these things crossing over, and we have an increasing body of voters from international, and I think we could. So that's my hot take for the 10th place spot is I'm going to go back to Neon and I'm going to pull in, yes, I'm going to pull in No Other Choice and say Park Chan-wook's film gets in. So that's what helps Park Chan-wook get into either director or screenplay, is that it becomes a play for picture, one of those two categories, and international feature, as well as it was just an accident in sentimental value. So there you go. Those are my current top 10 with some overlaps. It does leave out a couple distributors. It weakens some, but that's just life. Neon structures itself, and I hate doing this because I know they're not going to put audio description on these movies. So it's going to be very hard for me to even see their top contenders because they are known for failing to provide audio description. Seated Sacred Fig, I reviewed that film last year, even though didn't have audio description. I did sit through it, and guess what? I couldn't understand it because I need audio description. They never put audio description on Triangle of Sadness or Parasite. So they have 5 international films this year, and they're going to fuck up my Oscar race because I'm going to have to keep trying to predict films that I can't understand or see because I know they're not going to give audio description for it. It was just an accident, is already in theaters, and it doesn't have audio description, and they still have the other 4 films to release, and I'm sure none of them have audio description. The best one would be Sentimental Value, thanks to Elle Fanning. If any film is going to get audio description out of the 5, it's going to be Sentimental Value because of Elle Fanning. We shall see, though. Anyway, thank God she speaks English, I guess, and might pull in audio description with her. Might. Because Triangle of Sadness had English in it too, and they didn't give a shit. So, there's my 10. Let me know what you think your 10 are. What film am I sleeping on? What film do you think I was being unfair to? I'm open to it. Like, I keep listening to the debate on different topics, and I would say I'm strongly looking at, Avatar, Jay Kelly, Is This Thing On, Begonia, Testament of Anne Lee, maybe. Those are kind of like maybe the next 5 down for me, in terms of if I were to flip one up. Some films are just dead. Springsteen is just dead. It's just a dead movie. So it's just not happening. Rental Family is just not happening for Picture. I don't see that happening for Fox Searchlight. So it's a crowd-pleasing movie that it didn't even get the audience award at Toronto International Film. So if the argument is that it's going to win audiences over, man, it didn't even do that at TIFF. So, I just don't see that happening. But thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.